Hello, and welcome to this video on nugget formation in resistance fusion welds. To begin with, let me start by sharing the screen so you can follow along with the PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to share. My name is Girish Kelkar, and I am a welding consultant operating as WJM Technologies. Additional information about my consulting and training business is on the web at welding-consultant.com. In this video, we're going to talk about nugget formation in resistance fusion welds. For reference, it might be a good idea for you to review the previous videos that were posted in the playlist on this subject of resistance welding, especially the first two, which is resistance welding fundamentals, where we talk about contact and bulk resistance and short and long cycle welds. The other video which we are interested would be types of bonds in resistance welding, such as soldering and brazing, solid state, and fusion welds. In this video, we're going to only talk about fusion welds. There are other videos in this playlist which also might be of interest, including those on projection welding, parallel gap welding, and tempering of resistance welds. Keep in mind that this video, this playlist on resistance welding, as well as this YouTube channel, the Weld Nugget, is designed for engineering personnel who deal with welding on a daily basis, but may not have formal training or education in this field of welding. So we're going to first look at how we form a fusion weld. A fusion weld in resistance welding typically forms during what we call a long cycle weld. On the left, I'm showing you a schematic. You would have seen this schematic on one of the previous videos, where we show the transition between the different resistances over time during welding. On the vertical axis, we have resistance. On the horizontal axis, we have time. And as the weld progresses, the contact resistance drops to a very low value. And as the parts heat up, the bulk resistance grows from lower values to a higher value as the parts become warmer and hotter. Typically, in long cycle welds, we end up forming a nugget at the interface, and how that actually happens is what we're going to review in this video. Usually, fusion welds are made in resistive alloys such as steels, titaniums, and inconels, which is a common application. But you can also make a fusion weld in aluminum, even although the actual welding time in aluminum welds would be shorter, much shorter than what you would use for, say, stainless steel. Now let's look at the heat balance. I'm showing you a schematic of a resistance welding setup. We have two electrodes shown in red. Usually welding electrodes are made of copper, so I'm showing them in red. And two sheets of steel, which are being bonded together. When the force is applied and current flows through the weld, the volume of material through which the current flows will become hot. And that is the whole idea of resistance welding, that you are using the resistance to current flow to generate the heat required to make the weld. However, while we are actually sending the heat energy in, we are also losing some amount of heat. And the heat loss is by conduction. The copper electrodes themselves often are cooled with chilled water. So they provide a source of heat loss. So you're going to suck a lot of the heat out from the surfaces of the electrode part interface. And the materials themselves, depending on their thermal conductivity, can be a good source of heat loss. So now we are looking at a balance between the heat input and heat loss to generate a certain high temperature in the weld, which will eventually lead to a fusion weld. And let's see on the next slide how that happens. Here I have overlaid the two schematics, which I had shown on the previous slide. This is with the dashed line. This volume is where the heating takes place due to current flow, because the steel is the resistive component in this setup. And I'm showing you with these yellow arrows the heat loss to the copper electrodes as well as to parts themselves. Combination of the two results in a high temperature right at the interface along this line towards the center of the weld. If you draw a line over here through the center of the weld, vertical line, you will see the temperature profile will look something like this. So the maximum temperature will typically be at the weld interface, assuming these two steels are of the same material and same thickness. And then the temperature drops off quite quickly as we approach the surface because of the cooling, but there might be a slight bump in the temperature right at the interface because of any remnant residual contact resistance. So even though the bulk resistance dominates and creates this nugget, there might be a residual amount over here, depending on the length of the welding cycle. So once you create the maximum temperature along this line, that temperature then translates into fusion. So then you start growing the weld nugget. And that's what I'm showing over here is the weld nugget, which is forming at the interface. So now we're going to look at how that weld nugget changes as a function of welding parameters. Now, the nugget shape will depend on many factors, including material conductivity. So material conductivity of both the parts we are welding as well as the electrodes. Also depends on the electrode cooling. How good is the cooling you're providing with these electrodes? And then finally on the energy delivery. So assuming that we have a given setup with the given electrodes, materials, and the type of cooling, then the nugget size can be controlled to some extent by changing the welding parameters. As I've shown you schematically on the left, if you have the energy supplied at low energy and longer time, if you provide us energy which is lower energy for a longer time, you're going to be more likely to make a nugget which is not as tall, but more in the diameter over here. On the other hand, if you provide sharper increase in energy to a higher current level for a shorter time, then the nugget is more likely to grow in the vertical direction. Again, keep in mind that these things which happen in the nugget are not linear. So it is not that when you increase the energy, say increase the time, that means the nugget will only grow in the horizontal direction. It will also grow a little bit in the vertical direction, but the horizontal direction will be the dominant one. So depending on how you send the energy, you can change the shape of the nugget. And let's see what are the repercussions for that. Before we go there, let me show you some schematics of what these nuggets might look like. So depending on the cooling rate, the material, and the energy delivery, you can form a more oblong type weld nugget, which is relatively low energy with longer time. Again, this is all relative depending on the material, thickness, electrodes, and so on. So there are multiple ways of analyzing this. In contrast, if you send high energy for a shorter time, then the nugget is going to go quickly more in the vertical direction. And you might also get some porosity if the nugget is not closed down quickly enough. Of course, there are limits to how far you can go on these two. So let's look at those. If you design a welding process and you want a longer or a larger weld nugget or weld diameter at the interface, you can do that, but to a certain point, because the welding electrodes are applying force over here. And if the nugget starts to grow beyond the point where the welding electrodes can contain that molten metal on the edges, that molten metal can spit out from the middle, from between the two parts, and create weld flash. So here's an example of a sample which was peeled apart. So here we are not looking at the weld, we are looking at the weld after it has been split open. And you can see the weld flash being spit out, indicating that the nugget was perhaps growing a little bit too big, and it is not able to contain that molten metal. On the other hand, if you provide energy which is much higher peak energy with a shorter time, then the nugget can grow more in the vertical direction. And that also has many repercussions. And it can, first of all, affect electrode life. Now you see that the hot spot on the surface is very close to the surface. The nugget has grown almost all the way to the surface. That means the electrode surface temperature will also be quite high. So that will affect electrode life. It can also cause surface indentation. As you can see, there's an indent on the surface now, and the surface indentation may or may not be acceptable depending on the spec which you are trying to meet. You might also see flash from the weld surface. So you might see that the molten metal can actually spit out right on the edge of the weld in this direction. So you can see a lot of flash spitting out from that. Depending on the metallurgy of the weld, you might also see a lot of surface cracks if the temperature on the surface has become too high. And ultimately, all of that can lead to potential corrosion issues, which will affect the life of the weld. So there are quite a few negatives in trying to, if the weld nugget grows too tall and approaches the surfaces where the electrodes come in contact. So again, all of that is governed by the spec that you're trying to meet. And you can do that by proper selection of the metallurgy, the parts, electrodes, cooling, and the energy parameters. Okay? So in summary, resistance welds can produce a fusion nugget at the interface depending on material properties and welding parameters. And I say can because there are situations where instead of a fusion nugget, you are actually making a solid state joint bond or a braze or a solder bond. And for that, you'll have to review a previous video that I have posted on this playlist. For a given material being welded and the size of the electrodes, you can control the size and shape of the nugget by manipulating the energy delivery. So if you have lower energy for longer time, you're likely to produce a weld which is wider at the interface. Of course, you don't want it to become so wide that you have expulsion at the interface. You can also provide higher energy for a shorter time, which will grow the nugget vertically. And that can have negative repercussions as well if the nugget grows too much. The nugget can produce indentation on the surface. It will reduce electrode life. It can cause expulsion from the surface. It can produce surface cracks, and ultimately can have potential corrosion issues in service. Thank you for your time. If you're interested in learning more about resistance welding or in general welding and joining, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. There are many other playlists on this channel where you can look at videos for metallurgy, for arc welding, for resistance welding, and you can find those hopefully quite interesting and useful. I want to wish you the very best in your efforts to improve your welding quality, and take care. Thank you.